Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome. It is wonderful to gather together on this warm Shabbat evening. But it's cool in here, and Shabbat will certainly bring us a sense of warmth in our hearts, even though it is warm outside. We're going to begin with how wonderful it is to be together on page 10, Hine Matov, followed by a wonderful little ditty of Shabbat Shalom. Count everything.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yai da die die da die 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 die. Yai da die 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 die. Yai da die die da die 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 die. Yai da die die da die. We come from a tale told long ago, passed on but waves and the wind. We've made it this far together, you know. Come brothers and sisters, let's sing. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yahad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yahad. Come gather round and hear our song. If you are the wondering kind, you can take it alone, but just so you know, we leave no one behind. Our mothers and fathers who weathered the storms were strong in the trials of their time. So keep brothers and sisters, Lador Vador, carry on with this song in our lives. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yahad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yahad. We'll sing out the song for years to come, in a story without an end. For how good it is to be among our brothers and sisters and friends. Yes. For the candles tonight, are we going to invite somebody up to light the candles?
We are. We're going to do that afterwards.
Okay. Tonight's candle blessing is the blessing that I use with my grandkids, and hopefully they're listening tonight. It's a fun little ditty. I hope you enjoy it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Light The candles sing the blessing, sing Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Lechadlik ner is the blessing, sing Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Let's sing Shabbat Shalom.
And I'd like to invite my sister and brother-in-law, Beth and Carrie Milstein, to join us on the Bima. We're on page 2, where you'll find the Lahadlik Ner Shel Shabbat, the blessing for the lighting of the candles.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitfanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. On page 5, we have the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech olam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kadsho, be'ava uvratzon hinhilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila l'mikroei kodesh, zecher letziat mitzrayim. Kivanu v'chata ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shabbat kadshecha ve'ahava uvratzon kinhaltan. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen.
We turn now to page 20 as we welcome in the Shabbat bride, L'chadodi.
L'chadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekavela. L'chadodi likrat kala, likrat kala, likrat kala. Shemor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmianu elamech yuhad Adonai echadu shemo echad, L'shem utiferet v'lit hilah, Hadodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, likrat kala, likrat kala. לקראת שבת לכו ונחה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. So מעשה במחשבה תהילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, לקראת כלה, לקראת כלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה וצבלה. תוך אימוני עם סגולה, בואי הלאה, בואי הלאה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, לקראת כלה, לקראת כלה.
Please be seated. Continuing on page 26. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabba, Bi'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlik malchutei, B'chayechon v'yom echon, U'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, Ba'gala, Ba'gala, U'bizman hariv, V'yimeru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba mevorach, Le'olam olam me'amaya, Yiparach, V'yishavach, V'yipar, V'yikromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yinhadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei Kedusha b'rishu. Leila mincho v'irchata v'shirata, Tushvechata v'nechemata, Namiran v'alma, V'imeru. Amen. Page 28, and we rise for the Baruch Hu.
Yada die, da die, die, die. Yada die, da die, 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 die. Yada die, da die, die, die. Yada die, da die, die, die. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Yada dai da dai dai dai. Yada dai da dai 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 dai. Yada dai da dai dai dai. Yada dai da dai dai dai.
Page 30. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhma poteach sha'arim, uvitvuna mishane itim, umacharif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmortehem barakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golei or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, u'ma'avir yom u'mevi laila, u'mavdil bein yom u'vein laila. Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Amari v'haravim. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu, Adonai, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto, Leolam, Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated as we continue together on page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta habam, b'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, u'shachbecha uvkumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha. Uktavtam amezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'Elohechem.
But it would be instead of.
Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet. I invite you to turn to page 40 for the Micha Mocha, our prayer for freedom.
This one might be a little bit different than you might have heard in the past. Let me know how you like it after the service. Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha b'nei darba kodesh, no ra tehilot, o seifel. Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha b'nei darba kodesh, no ra tehilot, o seifel. We were Jews, slaving for the Pharaoh, working day and night, tired down to the marrow, wouldn't entertain hope for Jewish freedom, worried about his legacy and building up his kingdom. We were Jews, the Lord heard our calling, lice and locusts came, then the hail was falling. Pharaoh said, no, slaying of the firstborn, then he said, go upon the dawning of the next morn. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar b'kodesh, no ra tehilot, osei feleh. We were Jews trekking across the hot sand. In that arid place, our great nation soon began. Pharaoh thought about it, changed his evil mind, sent his army out to overtake them from behind. We were Jews running from the Pharaoh, chased by his guard, their orders and their arrows, trapped against the sea, seemed all was lost when God steered us through, blocked the way for them. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar b'kodesh, no ra tehilot, osei feleh. Word.
Together on the facing page. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles and earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. We continue on page 42 with Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Leshalom Ba'amidenu Shomreinu Lechayim Ufros Aleinu Sukat Shlomecha V'taknenu b'etza tova milfanecha v'hoshienu leman shemecha. Grant us peace as we lay down and close our eyes. You will shelter me and my family neath the shadow of your wings. Keep us safe and raise us up to life renewed. And through every storm, you will keep us warm, filled with love and light. Watching over us, you will carry us safely through the night.
Page 46, we rise for tefillah, for our standing prayer, the Amidah.
Anananananana Adonai Ananananana Svatai Tiftach Ananananana Ufi Yagid Tehilateha Anananananana Adonai na 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 svatai tiftach. Ana na 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 ufi yagi. Ufi yagi tehilateha. Ana na 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 Adonai. Ana na 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 svatai tiftach. Ana na 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 ufi yagi. Ufi yagi tehilateha. Ana na 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 Adonai. Ana na 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 svatai tiftach. Ana na 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 ufi yagi. Ufi yagi tehilateha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Gadol Hagibor V'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konen HaKol V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Gula Livnei Bneihem Leman Shemo B'Ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch Atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye HaKol HaTarav L'Hoshia Morid HaTahal Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed Mechaye HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim Somech Noflim V'Rofech Cholim Umatir Asurim Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar Michamocha Bar Gevurot Umidom Elach Melech Memit Umechaye Umatzmiach Yeshua V'ne'emanat halachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechayeh hakol Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh U'kedoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha Selah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. Continuing together on the top of page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. We turn to pages 58 and 60 for a combination of Modim, our prayer of thanksgiving, and Shalom Rav, our prayer of peace and wholeness. You'll find the words begin with Modim Anachnu Lach on page 58, and then switch to Shalom Rav on page 60, and then back to Modim again.
Modim anachnu la she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'Elohei Avotenu Be'imotenu Le'olam Va'ed. Tzur Chayenu Mahagen Yishenu Atahu Ledor Vador Tzur Chayenu Mahagen Yishenu Atahu Ledor Vador Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amha Tasim Le'olam Ki Atahu Melech Adon Umelech Adon Lechol HaShalom. Tzur Hayenu Mahagen Yishenu Atahu Ledor Vador Tzur Hayenu Mahagen Yishenu Atahu Ledor Vador Atahu Ledor Vador.
We come now to our prayer for healing, Mishaberach, and we include in our prayers for healing on this Shabbat these members of our Temple Beth-El family and loved ones, relatives, and friends. Carolyn Arakaki, Leah Brady, Sorrel Carter, Ruth Cohen, Alan Davis, Rachel Dorison, Rick Edmonds, Rita Goldman, Janet Gordon, Jamie Joslin, Marjorie Mitchell, Joel Newberg, Jessica Pierce, Michelle Ben Yankel Vapisha, Tzvi Dov Ben Binyamin Vashendel, Lisa Starks, Nina Villalobos, Julie Weaver, Janice Anderson Graham, Madeline Arabia, Bruce Badner, Claire Elizabeth Brady, Patty Bregman, Michael Buchholz, Maria Sklar Cardoza, Rusty Cluck, Wendy Cohen, Alyssa Freeman, Robert Friedman, Jordana Fuller, Robert Gilner, Stephen Goldstein, Julie Mendel Hoffman, Stephen Kerr, Goran Kitchik, Bruce Kramer, Nancy Lambert, Frida Sarah Levin, Mark Lehman, Sue Mangold, Angela Merceret, Robert Joseph Pratt, David Michael Prince, Betty Schroeder, Ron Seidel, Lori Sarah, Stan Silverberg, Eva Simmons, Larry Simmons, DeAnza Smith, Trish Speakman, Liliana Sulzer, Lita Tate, Eugenia Wands, Nancy Scher Weiss, Matthew Sternberg Yee, and Harvey Zanger. I invite you to add any names that you are personally praying for quietly at your seats or in your hearts as we turn to page 253, where you will find some of the words to the Mishaberach we'll sing, which is the setting by Craig Taubman, which includes the words, El Na Rafan Allah, O God, please now heal her.
Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzhak Yaakov Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Yirareh, Yirapeh, Ha'olim. Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Yirareh, Yirapeh, Ha'olim, Yirareh, Yirapeh, Ha'olim.
We pause for a few moments of personal and private prayer. I invite you to either use the prayers and meditations on pages 62 and 63, or simply to look inward and find the prayers that are written within. As we offer our prayers in silence to God, we'll be on page 62 when we return together as a congregation.
Yehu liratson imrefi vegeyon libi lifanecha Adonai tzuri vegoali Adonai tzuri vegoali. May the word of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my Redeemer. Yehu liratson imrefi vegeyon libi lifanecha Adonai tzuri vegoali Adonai tzuri vegoali.
An ingenious example of speech and politics occurred once at the UN and made the world community smile. A representative from Israel began his speech as follows. Before beginning my talk, I want to tell you something about Moses. When he struck the rock and it brought forth water, he thought, what a good opportunity to have a bath. He removed his clothes, put them aside on a rock, and entered the water. When he got out and wanted to dress, his clothes had vanished. A Palestinian had stolen them. The Palestinian representative jumped up furiously and shouted, "What are you talking about? The Palestinians weren't there back then." The Israeli representative smiled and said, "And now that we are clear about that historical reality, I will begin my speech." Most major conflicts arise in this world because two or more groups of people believe that they are entitled to the same property. Wars are started over what group of people is entitled to a country or what country is entitled to what property. Entitlement issues can be a difficult thing to sort out, which is why more than 75 years after the creation of Israel, we still have the Arab-Israeli conflict, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. We all witnessed the ugliness of this conflict 2 weeks ago when the IDF found it necessary to send forces into the Palestinian town of Jenin, a base for terrorists and militants to engage in violent resistance against the occupation of the West Bank territories. Strangely enough, one of the ongoing arguments from both sides of the conflict is that they are each entitled to the land because their ancestors had the land. The fact is, hereditary issues should not even be taken into consideration when discussing the Arab-Israeli conflict. As Americans, we have an uneasy relationship with the idea of inheritance. We believe that this land belongs to us despite the fact that it was in large part stolen from Native Americans through deception, broken contracts, and wars of aggression. Regardless of this, Americans believe that the current landowners, not the improperly compensated Native Americans, are entitled to the land. Some will now acknowledge that we stand here on the traditional lands of the Tocobaga, Seminole, and Miccosukee peoples, who were the first Americans in this place. We also believe that we are not entitled to anything simply because our ancestors owned it. For example, my grandfather was a Lithuanian immigrant to this country, yet you would have a hard time finding someone that believes that I am entitled to Lithuanian citizenship for that reason alone. America is a land of immigrants, and most Americans would say they are not entitled to citizenship of the countries from their ethnic backgrounds. At some point, all humans originated in Africa, but people know they do not have any legitimate claim on citizenship rights in Africa. All land has been at one time or another owned by someone else. This does not mean that we recognize the descendants of anyone in history who owned the land as having equal claim on the land. Despite this, Americans have no problem changing their minds about what a person is entitled to when it comes to foreign conflicts. One of the reasons proponents of Israel sometimes claim is the legitimacy of Jewish control of the land of Israel, as it was controlled by Jews for thousands of years. And it was only because of an exile forced by the Romans more than 1,800 years ago that the Jews left. Opponents of Israel will say that the Palestinians, while never controlling the land, had occupied it for thousands of years and only left 75 years ago, unless you count the Philistines, who controlled Gaza and some surrounding areas as early Palestinians. Some were forced out by Israel, some forced out by Arab armies, some left completely voluntarily, expecting to be able to return after an almost what was thought to be 75 years ago, an almost inevitable Arab victory. Regardless of when or why the Jews or the Arabs left the land, neither side can legitimately use this argument to claim entitlement to Israel. For either side to claim land ownership for hereditary reasons would be comparable to arguing that the landowners of most of the United States leave their land and give it to various Native American tribes. Socializing and accepting an individual is first and foremost the responsibility of someone's country of birth. It is not the responsibility of a country to which a person claims ethnic or historical ties. And this brings me finally to our parasha of this Shabbat. Parashat Matot Maseh, which is double portion this week, is not an easy one for us to interpret or upon which to base an edifying drash. In this portion, there are three main issues that are quite problematic. First, the laws regarding oaths, which rule that a father and husband have the power to break the oath of a daughter or wife. Second, the difficult description of the war between the Israelites and the Midianites. The Eternal spoke to Moses, saying, "Avenge the Israelite people and the Midianites, and then you shall be gathered to your kin." And third, the desire of the tribes of Reuben and Gad and half of Manasseh to settle on the eastern side of the Jordan and not enter into the land of Israel. Our portion enables many different and sometimes contradictory readings, depending on the glasses we choose to wear when we read the text. In Ellen Frankel's book, The Five Books of Miriam, she asks, how can the Torah grant sanction to the murder of all the children of Midian and all the women who are no longer virgins? Are we not bothered by the genocide enacted against Midian? A contrary position is brought by the traditional commentator Aharon Yaakov Greenberg in his work Itorei Torah. According to his interpretation, the portion Matot brings us comfort and encouragement during the period called Bein HaMetzarim, the days between the 17th of Tammuz, when the walls of Jerusalem were breached, to Tisha B'Av, commemorating the destruction of the first and second temples. How? Through mentioning the conquest of the land of Israel and its distribution between the tribes. From my own perspective, beyond the criticism of the status of women in the biblical world, beyond the difficult question marks regarding the cruelty of the war against Midian, I understand that, in fact, the history of our people from the onset was paved with bloodshed. The wars of Israel began a long time before the conquest by Joshua. They already began in the wilderness, led by Moses, during the long years of wandering by the Israelites on their way to the Promised Land. Our Torah portion, Matot, begins with the war against Midian and concludes with the description of many other additional wars of Israel against the kingdom of the Amorites and the kingdom of Bashan. Wars, wars, and more wars. One wonders if we will always live by the sword. Let us together hope for the day that it not be far from now when we finally can live securely, without internal or external threats, when we will not need to wage war nor struggle for our existence as a democratic country, when we will not need to wage war, when Israeli sons and daughters will enlist only in an army of peace. And in the words of the poet Naomi Shemer, from the poem Mahar, tomorrow, it will all happen tomorrow, if not today, and if not tomorrow, then 2 days from now. And let us say, Amen. We turn to page 282. And we rise for Aleinu in the middle of the page. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon ha'kol, atei kedula liotzer b'reishit, shelo asanu kigoyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287. Page 294, as we participate in the mitzvah of memory. And we remember these loved ones who recently died in past week or month. We remember Renee Ross, Amy Watkins Burton, and Lee Leibson. May their memories be for a blessing. And on this Shabbat and the week ahead, we honor the yard sites, the anniversaries of death of these loved ones in our community. Nobuchi Arakaki, Beatrice Axelrod, Max Axelrod, Joyce Baroth, Michael Borish, Howard Brantz, Marilyn Lee Freeman, Eleanor Frisch Graham, Diantha Perry Gross, Esther Huffnagel, Phyllis Kahn, Isaac Kavina, Adolf Klein, Evan Lieberman, Sid Lieberman, Harry Luchinsky, Dorothy Logan, Anna Moade, Arthur Pacharski, Mark Ross, Leslie Elizabeth Shavlin, Louis Stark, Bud Studna, Jack Wolf, J. Lance Woodruff. I'd ask if there's anyone else who's remembering a loved one, a recent death or a yard site, and you'd like to share that name aloud, to please do so at this time, if you choose. Zichronam livracha, may the memory of all the righteous be for a blessing. Supporting all who mourn, we say together these sacred words. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, b'yalma divrach yerutei b'yamlich malchutei, b'chaye echon b'yom echon b'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, b'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah m'varach le'alam olmei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shmei kudusha b'richu. Le'elam yimchol v'yirchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlam ha'rava min shemayim. V'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom v'mermav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael. V'yal kol yoshvei tevel. V'yimru amen. Please be seated. David, turn it over to you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My name is David Blum, and I'm your board rep for today. First of all, let me start by saying thank you, Rabbi Torah, and John and the band. The Beastie Boys have nothing on you guys. It's been a wonderful service, and we're glad you shared your time and talents with us this evening. Help us with our hello to our virtual TB family out there online. And we still have a couple of tickets left for our Boomers baseball event next Thursday. See our website to book or contact Dean Grotzman. The week after next, on Tuesday, July 25th, is the Sisterhood Painting Party at Practically Picasso. All those members who are interested in being involved in the Sisterhood are invited. The cost is $38 per person, and currently we still have space available. So be sure to lock in your spot on our website today and register. Well, wait till after Shabbat and do it on Sunday or Monday. As always, check our social media pages, weekly e-scroll newsletter, and monthly digital scroll publication for the most up-to-date information. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, David. I also want to thank Steve Miller and Doug Lichterman, who joined John Rosenbluth, doing us wonderful music tonight. And so thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And we're going to finish with a lovely rendition of What a Wonderful World. Go ahead, John.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed day, the dark sacred night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
What a
Shabbat
wonderful world, truly filled with such miracles, such blessings, such happiness, and such joy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.